This is Coffee Cruise, conversations for the road ahead. Grab your coffee, buckle up, and let's cruise. Hey, Coffee Cruisers, welcome back. This is episode 11, and I really struggled with what to bring to the table on this one because I have a lot of really great recorded content. And one that I have had that I've kind of been holding on to um, is one that came shortly after we released episode 6, where uh, my sister and I talk about coffee and life speed bumps. And we opened up about loss and what grief feels like and the cancer survivorship. And so there's so much to talk about that. But shortly after that episode, our family experienced another death. Unfortunately, my husband's grandmother unexpectedly passed, and just like that, we found ourselves back in the funeral home that we had just stood in only 6 months earlier for his mother's funeral. And honestly, it ripped the band-aids right back off. All the emotions came flooding back. The sadness, the anxiety, the heaviness, the feeling of carrying more than you know how to hold. And then I just realized something important in that moment. I wasn't okay. I was functioning and I was showing up. I was working. I was being a mom. I was being a wife. I was doing all the things. But inside, I was tired. I was more than physically tired. I was mentally tired, emotionally tired, spiritually tired. And when grief keeps stacking up like that, when you have that compounding back to back loss or any sort of traumatic events like that, that's really where post-traumatic stress come from, but your body remembers it. So I knew that we had to get through the week together, but that I needed to step away. Nothing dramatic. It was very intentional. Um, I told my husband how I was feeling and that I needed a moment to breathe. And I made sure he was okay and that he and Avery had what they needed. And then I packed my Jeep and I found a little treehouse Airbnb in Southern Illinois and I just ran away for the weekend. It was exactly what I needed. I needed to stop the noise. I needed to sit with my thoughts and my feelings. I recorded thoughts into my phone and you're going to hear some of that. These are going to be clips from that time. Um, I sat in silence. I listened to music with the windows down and I just drove. At one point, I just laid in bed and stared at the wall. That is how much I needed to just be still. And it was wonderful. Like I said, I never do this. And so I'm so thankful that my husband and the other loved ones just knew that I was intentionally trying to take care of my own mental health. I did things that fed my soul and made me feel good. And I also found some really incredible hidden gems along the way. Um, I just kept running into finding these little heart-shaped rocks. So I collected all the heart-shaped rocks. And then when I got back from my trip, I gave them to Mike and Avery. Um, there were so many different coffee shops. So one of them, I have several clips from other ones, but I stopped at Crown Brew Coffee and had a great coffee experience. I ran in unexpectedly to a breast cancer survivor. She actually had a table and a booth set up and she was surrounded by her friends and I introduced myself and I asked a few questions and we began kind of sharing our stories. She was there to educate around self-exam, women health. She had just gone into remission. So we got to talking and I shared, like I said, my story of survivorship, and knowing that she was a newly released patient from treatment, I knew where she was, right? I knew that feeling of being so excited that it was over, but still having fear and just the unknown because you're just released and it's like, what? Like, now what? Now what do I do? And people don't talk about that. They talk about, what it's like to look like a cancer patient, to lose your hair and, maybe a little bit of what people could expect from chemo and all this, but they do not talk about life after and the mental health after. And I think that's something that's very important. So we talked for a while and just, knowing that in the middle of my own heaviness, that I was able to help someone else and knowing that one day she's gonna help somebody else, and then the person she helps is gonna help somebody else, that ripple effect just it spreads. The healing spreads, the hope spreads, the kindness spreads. So just know that if life feels heavy right now, take care of yourself. Take the drive, take the walk. Book the little getaway. Sit quietly. Just watch the sunrise. Listen to the birds. Get off of your phone. Get out of the noise. Go outside. Get grounded. And most importantly, give yourself permission to rest. You matter. Your mind matters. Your heart matters. Now, go grab your coffee. Roll the windows down. And let's take the long way. We're going to listen to some clips. And we're going to get into this. Here we go. So today I am in Southern Illinois and I'm about to go on a hike, and it is absolutely beautiful out. A little chill in the air, but sunny, and it's early. I had a great drive here through just nature, winding roads. I didn't even pass a vehicle or a person or an animal, nothing. And so now I'm out in the middle of nature and it is so peaceful. There's nobody out this morning, and so um I'm going to hike and hopefully find a waterfall or two, and I'll bring you along. Here we go. I was walking the trail here, which said it was an easy hike, just 0.75 miles to the waterfall, and I've been walking for a while, and I see a sign that kind of says that the trail ends here, even though I see more trail, and right where it says it ends, there's a little waterfall. Nothing too exciting, but for me, I mean, it's my bucket list, so even a drip of water, I'm going to count. Um, But my curiosity got the better of me. I started walking around, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk past this point. I don't really care what the sign says. There's nobody out here, and I like to explore. And that curiosity, I tell you, it's the best thing. I kept walking, and now I found the big waterfall, and I don't know why they say don't hike past this point, but it's gorgeous, and I walked straight up to it. And if I could get through this cold water, I'd walk all the way up in it. But not today. We'll save it for another day. But it just goes to show you that, take the road that's least traveled, and you might be surprised what you find along the way. And pay attention to everything around you, and just have a good time. Go have fun, go explore, live life, and admire the beauty of nature, because it's a little crazy to stand here knowing that this has always been here before me and it will be here after me. And something about that is healing to me, and I don't know why. I'm just kind of walking around and just reflecting on life, and um like I said, sometimes with grief, you just need to get away and you just need to have the peace and be out in nature. And it's really making me feel like I can breathe for the first time again, like a deep, deep breath. And I hope that this helps recenter me and gives me more strength for going through life, because there's always going to be ups and downs, and we're going to have to learn how to deal with them in the healthiest way possible. But I also went on a Jeep ride this morning. Uh, It's really beautiful out here, but I stopped in, I think it was Marion, Illinois, and I found an awesome coffee shop called Crown Brew Coffee. I went in and talked to them, and what was so funny is, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe in, but there's signs if you pay attention. And so I could not sleep this morning, got up, decided I'm going to just go ahead and go on a coffee cruise, and put in this Crown Brew coffee, which I just randomly selected, and it was 22 minutes away. You've listened to the other podcast, you know that 22 is a strong number for us. It's a sign, and it's a good sign. And so I kind of got a little chuckle, and then as I'm driving, I kept seeing the number 22 on signs, and I pull up to the coffee shop, and sure enough, I got there at 7:22 a.m. So it's just those moments that make you realize, you're really not alone. And I went in and I talked to the owners. I bought a hat. I spent $50 in the shop. And I really wish I was mic'd up for it, because the owners and the workers there were so cool. And the barista, I had her make me a surprise. She made me a nice latte for the road, and it was a dark chocolate turtle latte. And so Anyways, talking to the barista a little bit and just telling her about my podcast. Everybody just gets so excited about it because people love to explore and people love to try new things. And especially any of us that are coffee enthusiasts, they know. But started talking to her and she said, "Okay, what's your name for the order?" And I said, "Ashley." And she said, "Shut up. My name's Ashley." And I instantly had the flashback to Ashley, my twin flame, doing the same thing when I first met her. And there's just like this common little spark that, again, there's a sign for all of it. We both got a chuckle out of that. And so yeah, it's just the signs that we've been getting today. And I'm gonna sit out here and journal it a little bit and then go for another cruise. I think another thing that I've realized, um, the more you go through a lot of grief back to back like we have, you start being a little bit more intentional about how you take care of yourself through it. Because definitely grief will take everything out of you if you don't. And I think sometimes we assume healing just happens with time. We always hear that time heals all wounds. But I'm really learning that healing actually happens when we create space for it. And for me, that just meant stepping away this weekend and just to be in nature. I just can't have the noise, the constant responsibilities, and just pretending everything is fine. I just want quiet. And honestly, I think that nature is one of the healthiest places to process grief. There's just something about being outside that reminds you that life keeps moving. And somehow when you think about that, your perspective helps your nervous system calm down a little, I think. But another thing I've been learning is that grief needs movement. When we try to bottle it up and push it down, it doesn't disappear. It just stays stuck in our bodies. So sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is to move. Take a walk. Go for a drive. Sit outside with your coffee. Let your mind wander. Some of the best conversations and realizations that I've had have just happened while I'm driving by myself quietly down the road, which is really, like I said, how this podcast all started. I think one of the most important things we can do while we're grieving is just to talk about the people that we lost. Say their names, share their stories, laugh about the memories. Because sometimes people stop talking about someone after they pass away, and it's almost like they're afraid it will make things worse. But I have actually found the opposite. Talking about them keeps them part of your life. It keeps their influence and their love alive in the conversations that you have. And really, I think that's what makes grief so hard, because it's really the loss of love. And another healthy thing that I'm still trying to learn is to give yourself permission to rest. I hate that I feel guilty sometimes for that, but grief is exhausting. It's emotional, it's mental, and it's physical. Your body carries that stress. So resting it isn't weakness. Sometimes rest is exactly what your mind and your nervous system need in order to start healing. So sometimes when life gets heavy like that, the only way to recenter yourself is to slow down, to sit with your thoughts, to breathe, to remind yourself that healing doesn't happen when we keep pushing forward without stopping. And sometimes healing happens when we step outside of everything just for a moment. So as I'm sitting here in nature, I just think about everything that our family has been through. Something really hit me. Grief isn't something we move past. It's something we learn to carry. But overall, the process just takes time. And sometimes the most important thing we can do for ourselves is just to give ourselves permission to not be okay for a little while. To acknowledge that grief is heavy and that healing isn't linear. And just to acknowledge that sometimes we're just doing the best we can. And maybe that's why conversations like this matter. Because honestly, grief can feel really lonely, even when you're going through it with all the rest of your family. We all grieve in different ways. But the truth is, there are a lot of people out there quietly carrying something. Loss, change, pain, memories, love. So if you're listening to this today and you've been walking through your own season of grief, just know you're not alone on this road. Right. It's time for Coffee Cruise Confessions. So, to keep with the theme of this episode, I want to know, where's the place you go when your soul needs a rest or a reset? So for me, it's anywhere I can hear water, feel sunshine on my skin, breathe fresh air, and have coffee in my hand. Beach, mountains, forest road, waterfall trail, honestly, just put me in nature. I can find myself again. Give me something to explore. Give me that anticipation of not knowing what's around the corner and for me to find out. Let me mark new experiences, new places off of my bucket list. That is what resets my soul. What resets yours? Can't wait to hear your answers. All right. I am leaving my treehouse getaway and I'm in Marion, Illinois, and I'm going to stop back by at Crown Brew Coffee Company. They're an award-winning craft coffee shop in Marion, Illinois, and they're known for their premium coffee, house-made syrups, and I know that when I was there yesterday, they had pastries and cookies and things like that. So it's a really cool building. It's an old um, brick building. It's beautiful. I like the history of these old buildings and the atmosphere in it. They have a variety of espressos, teas, and other drinks. And you can tell that they're community focused. They host live music events, have local art displayed, and they really aim to build that community connection. And plus, like I said, the historic location, it's a renovated building in downtown Marion. So I think they've also, what I have done a little bit of research, they had received some awards for the best of the Midwest and part of the Illinois MAID program. So we're going to go check them out. The staff was really cool. So it's a short drive. We're just going to drive over there real quick. It's loud in this town though on a Sunday. It's really windy. But I had a great time. The cabin that I stayed at, the owners were fantastic. Red Roof Retreats in Goreville, Illinois. And like I said, I stayed in a cute little treehouse. It was so perfect. I originally just intended to just stay there and do nothing. But I had to go check out the local coffee shops. I had to go drive my Jeep on the trails and explore. And I had way too much fun. And it was exactly what I needed to reset, to be out in nature. Did a little hiking to a waterfall, which has always been on my bucket list. I was able to do some journaling. I was able to do some editing for the podcast. And I just had a great time. I stopped at a winery, Starview Vineyards, and had myself a glass of wine and lunch. And I have never usually, or I don't usually stop alone to places, but it's kind of cool. I enjoyed myself just sitting there alone. There was a bachelorette party going on and it was hilarious. And so I was the only person not in the bachelorette party. And I had a feeling they were going to invite me over. So not really the scene I was looking for. I just wanted peace, quiet relaxation. So I kind of ate my lunch quickly and left. But really good barbecue, homemade barbecue sandwich. The pasta salad was phenomenal. And again, the people were really friendly and the wine was great. I had a white semi-sweet wine and it was delicious. So if you're in the area, there's so much to do. I'm looking forward to coming back. Like I said, the owners, Chris, from Red Roof Retreat, she was so sweet and kept checking on me. And she had she has 6 or 7 properties and all of them are like self-serve. So in addition to that, she was starting up this little self-serve spa, and she asked if I would be interested in trying it out and giving her some feedback before she actually launches and opens it. And so, heck yeah, like everybody knows I love wellness stuff. So I went over there and they had a red light therapy, which was perfect. I loved it. Laid on a massage bed and turned that thing on. It was beautiful in there. And then there was this amazing massage chair that I sat in, I don't even know, for an hour at least. It was the best massage chair that I have ever had. It was so perfect. It like hugged you. And so that felt really good. And then there was also a sauna, which was really nice. It was like a 2-person sauna. And it was just really cute in there. She had all of the things you would need to create the atmosphere for yourself. So she had candles, the LED candles that you could turn on. She had a sound machine, which I really appreciate. So that I didn't have to be on my phone or didn't have to, be on anything, just sit there, relax and listen to the sound. I literally could have taken a nap in there. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And she had salt lamps too. And that's one of the pieces of feedback I gave her. I love salt lamps. So I think she could have even more salt lamps in there, but super excited that she let me try that out. She was super friendly. Even invited me to come back to do a coffee cruise on their boat, which I think will be phenomenal. So we'll have to go back and interview them, find out more about how they started their little retreat. And, she just seems like a very creative person, and I would love to talk more to her. And then on my way out, I let her know I was leaving, and she told me that there was another little self-serve shop that I could go to on my way out. So I did that, which was so cool. And they had everything you could think of in there. They had even food if you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but if you didn't really feel like going anywhere, you could go get a frozen pizza, ice cream, whatever. She had a freezer full of that, but then there was everything that you could imagine, a snackle box, which I always have a snackle box whenever I travel, and Ashley and I started that, and it is one of my favorite things to do. So I definitely had a snackle box on this trip with different cheeses and meats and all the good stuff, and I ate every single piece of it. The shop also had ceramics, homemade ceramics, so I got my husband a cool little mug from there, and yeah, so now I'm in Marion on my way back home. It's really windy. I think it's gonna storm. Um, but let's go ahead and go over to Crown Brew Coffee. I was there yesterday, and they had me try a cortado, which I had never had, but it was really awesome, especially if you like coffee because it's strong. It's like a little espresso. And then I also got one of their honey lattes, which was phenomenal. So I tried to go to a different place today called The Vault, but I went in there and it was a little awkward. Apparently, it's not a coffee shop. It is a restaurant, and they weren't very friendly about giving me a coffee to go. So back to Crown Brew. All right. So 2 for 2 strikeout. Crown Brew was closed. So I guess I'm just gonna hit the road and maybe find a different shop on my way back home. And if not, well, then no coffee for me today. Okay, friends, here we are, rounding out our cruise here, coming to a stop. And I hope that hearing little pieces of my trip reminded you of something important. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pause. Not quit, not run away forever. Just pause long enough to breathe, to think, to feel, and to take care of yourself and your mental health. Life moves fast and responsibilities pile up. Grief gets heavy and stress builds quietly. Before you know it, you're carrying more than you ever were meant to carry alone. I know that feeling. And what this trip reminded me is that healing is not always found in some life-changing moment. Sometimes healing just looks like quiet mornings with coffee, a long drive with the windows down, a hike to a waterfall, journaling your thoughts, sitting in silence, meeting kind strangers, trying something new, but most importantly, letting your nervous system finally exhale and realizing that maybe, just maybe, you're going to be okay. And I'll tell you the truth, I never doubted that, but I knew I wasn't my best self. And this brought me right back to it. I came home lighter, not because the grief disappeared and not because life suddenly got easier, but because I gave myself permission to slow down long enough to reconnect with myself. And honestly, everyone deserves that. So if life feels heavy right now, hear me when I say this. Take care of yourself. Ground yourself and find your quiet place. And remember, if you can, take the long way, because sometimes the road back to yourself is the one worth taking. Thanks for riding with me. I'll see you at the next stop.